Hey, welcome back guys, Phantom's Y here, and we're back with some more G-Senjou no Maou. It is Halloween where I am, just had a bunch of fun, not just, but a couple hours ago, had a fun time streaming some Umineko with the people who came to hang out with me in Twitch, so that was a blast. I've been streaming a ton today, but I think I got one more recording in me here. So, with that said, let's have fun, shall we? There was a beautiful feeling in the air, like a revolution was about to begin. The devil, Mephistopheles, was sitting at a bar in a secluded alley along Central Boulevard, waiting for Maou to call. The clock's hands pointed to 8 exactly. Mephistopheles put the battery into the cell phone. The time had been arranged by Maou. He had explicitly told Mephistopheles to get into the habit of taking the batteries out of phones. It's much more difficult to be tracked if one does so. The devil at the bar had received Mao's letter 3 days earlier. Mephistopheles was a representative of the Great Japan Revolutionary School and had put the office address on the website, making it public without concern. The first words of the letter read, "I want you to kill a certain person." Even a date and time had been specified, along with a meticulously detailed plan for murder. At first, he believed it to be nothing more than a prank or a trap sent by the communists. But after reading further about Mao's advocacy, reprimanding corrupt politicians and the Fourth Estate, his interest was piqued. Even though the punctuation was carelessly atrocious and the writer seemed uncultured, the letter's passion had touched Mephistopheles. And though through last night's phone call, he had confirmed that they were indeed comrades. He called himself Azai, but had added, "Just call me Maou." Maou announced that he had killed a man. He had pushed him down a staircase. He'd hidden himself in an obscure place, waited for him to come back home, and then shoved the man when he wasn't looking. Even though the methods weren't complex, as long as there weren't any witnesses, it would be hard to place it as anything but an accident. Mephistopheles asked him why the man had been marked for death. He liked the answer. Because he was a homosexual. Tisk tisk. Mephistopheles shared that belief. Great Japan has no need for such weaklings. That's obviously not the way I really feel about it, by the way. Not trying to start anything up here. Upon asking, he discovered that the victim had been a clothing designer. Supposedly, he publicly announced that he was a homosexual and had received widespread media attention because of it. He was definitely a man that deserved to die. Mephistopheles saw Maou as a man with decisive feelings and the courage to act on them. He was happy to find another individual who worried for the future of the nation. The call came, but the receiver kept silent. The man waited to speak until he could confirm Mephistopheles' voice. Such care is to be respected. His voice sounds quite young, but nationalism has nothing to do with age. Maou laughed to himself. He had a point. Just giving the impression that everything was done independently would be enough to send the police investigation in the wrong direction. Maou said.
彼らの住まう場所などないということを教えてやらねば。
心意気は称賛に値する。英霊たちもお喜びになるだろう。
Wow. So not just sexuality, they have anything against people coming outside of the nation. Talk about zealots. He seems to be an intelligent man. His will also seems to be strong. There's a hint of insanity in his cold words. The problem lies with Mao's background. In other words, if he has such a bold plan, why does he still need me? Mao spoke, as if reading Mephistopheles' mind.
私はこの殺人の末、声明文を寄贈して堕落した日本人に訴えかける所存です。しかし、私は個人で動いている。今の政治では少数意見は必然的に無視されるものです。私は真に信頼できる同志を求めていました。威厳ある組織を。しかし、どの政治団体も手ぬるい。どいつもこいつも口だけです。
His speech suddenly became firm, and his next words shook Mephistopheles' heart even further.
あなたは違う。あなたのウェブサイトに掲げられた主張に確信した。あなたは英雄だ。私の声明文を託せるのはあなたしかいない。
As if desiring to suppress his climaxing emotions, he took a gulp of water. A beautiful feeling in the air, like a revolution was about to begin.
一人殺すと言ったな。いつ殺すんだ。
明日です。
詳しく聞こう。
ええ、夜は長い。
So Mao is playing them up now. Hello, Kanon. Late that night, Kanon returned to my apartment. So you're really staying here? Did Ikiko-san and Mr. Hilton give you permission?
ヒルトン先生はあんまりプライベートに関わらないの。日本語もあんまりできないからなんか気が楽だよ。
Ikiko-san said it was okay?
オッケーだって。明日は車で迎えに来るって。
That's good to hear, but my body was a bit stiff from the cold, so I went to the kitchen to boil some water. Would you like some coffee?
うん。兄さんのコーヒーは美味しい。でも砂糖は入れないでください。
She's probably being mindful of what she eats.
兄さんって暗いよね。
Why so rude all of a sudden?
何考えてたの？
I was thinking that if you win, someone will die. I was thinking about how cute you are. I tried shrugging my shoulders. I thought she would make fun of me again, but Kanon's eyes just sparkled.
本当？2回目だね、兄さんに好きって言われるのは。
I didn't say I loved... Wait, the second time?
兄さんと会って最初の頃。
Oh yeah. I have a vague memory of it. At the time, I just learned that Kanon was Gonzo's daughter, and I wanted her to have a good impression of me. I don't really remember it. Maybe I said she was cute, or that I liked her, or something.
のんちゃんは、のんちゃんが好きな人が好きです。
I can't believe she took it so seriously. Of course, I don't hate her or anything, but...
兄さんはネクラで嘘つきだけど、のんちゃんのことは大好きです。
Yep.
じゃなかったら、頼んでないのにコーヒーとか出してくれません。ご飯も用意してくれません。
What a dumb thing to say.
なんか元気出てきた。明日はすっごい点数出しちゃうぞ。
It's good that you feel well. Why don't you do a quad jump next time?
あれはもうやめた。
Oh?
今日のテレビ見てなかったの？のんちゃんインタビューで4回転しないって宣言したんだよ。
Really? That's too bad. Everyone was looking forward to that. What do you always call it? A trump? Kanon shook her head like a puppy.
あれはやるもんじゃないよ。男の選手でも腰と膝にズシーンとくるらしいよ。のんちゃんもカナダで試してみて、こいつはやばいって思った。
You mean the rest of the performance is really wobbly after that?
Yes!
Yes! I didn't quite like that. Won't your popularity suffer, Kanon-chan? That sounds like something Eiichi would say.
みんな新しい技が大好きだからね。
She bit her lip, talking as if it were a painful problem.
でも心配ない。結局勝てばいいから。
Can you, though? According to Coach Eiichi, your fundamentals aren't that great.
ジャンプに比べればの話だよ。
Your jumps, huh?
4回転を狙わない分だけトリプルをきっちり決めるから。
She's got a point. If her quad jump fails, then it'll lead to trouble. It's easier to guarantee a high score if she just does a good triple. Just promise not to fall, alright? When a skater jumps, even the audience gets nervous.
あれれ、兄さん知らないの？のんちゃんはジャンプはジュニアの時からほとんど転んだことないんだよ。
Wow.
アクセルはちょっとやらかしちゃったことあるけど、序盤のコンビネーションジャンプなんかは一度も転んだことないんだよ。
I felt like she wasn't really taking things seriously. Okay, but what about that Seta Makiko girl? You're not the only Japanese skater in good condition this year.
うん、今日一緒にインタビューされた。瀬田さんかわいい。でも勝つのはのんちゃんなのでした。
Too bad my ass. Aren't you being a touch overconfident? I asked her, dismayed. Just because you haven't fallen before doesn't mean you'll never fall. Kanon suddenly got quiet. I also closed my mouth. She was obviously unhappy, yet she forced a smile.
転ばないよ。
What? I drew in a breath.
私が負けるわけがないの。
The light shining in her eyes as she gazed at me was something that I'd never seen before.
5歳の時からスケートやってるの。バレエも習った。みんなが遊んでる夏休みに合宿にも行くの。CM にも出させられるの。わかるかな？
In the face of that frozen expression of hers, I didn't even dare to breathe. Behind those repressed words were absolute confidence.
瀬田さんはインタビューで私のことをライバルだと言った。私に勝ちたいみたい。そんなこと考えてるから勝てないの。余計なこと考えたらダメなの。私は普通の学園生であることを求めなかったし、パパが怖い人なのもどうでもいいの。パパと母さんが一緒に暮らしていないのも理由があるんだろうけど、あえて聞かないの。ショックを受けてる暇なんてないから。
Yeah, she's just coming all out with all this.
兄さんもそう。いろいろ隠し事があるみたいだけど、聞かれたくなさそうだから私も興味を持たないの。どうすれば得点が伸びるのか、私はそれだけを考えてる。
That emotionless speech forced my posture to straighten. Those powerful, daunting eyes resembled another pair I'd seen somewhere.
去年の故障を心配するような声もあるけど余計なお世話。テレビの人は視聴率を取るのが仕事。私も数字を取るのが仕事。誰よりも高い点数を取って観客をあっと驚かせてあげるの。感動したければすればいい。握手もサインもしてあげる。そんなことより勝利の瞬間がたまらないから何千何万回と練習してきた。
I'd forgotten.
分かった兄さん。
This girl is Azai Gonzo's daughter.
明日は来てね。それが本当だって教えてあげる。
Just as I waded casually through school, the arena is the place for Kanon to show her true self. After finishing what she wanted to say, Kanon reverted back to her bashful expression of a few moments earlier and went into the changing room. But I was rooted in place, unable to return to reality. Tomorrow, I have to go whether I want to or not. Dun dun dun! Chapter 3! That fearless smile, that gaze, oozing an excess of confidence. It was inside that crowded arena that I realized the true essence of Azai Kanon.
Number 46 Azai Kanon, Nippon.
Enthusiastic applause exploded from the spectators' seats. In the middle of this thunder, Kanon leaped onto the ice. Tracing a semicircle along the wall, which had been plastered with advertising banners, she stopped in the middle and threw the judges a flirtatious smile. The arena was covered in an almost suffocating silence. Her face was shining on the giant screen installed in the inner wall. Her expression was entirely foreign to the Kanon I know. It hailed a challenge. Her tightly pursed lips, with the calculated application of makeup, stood out beautifully. A sense of power radiated from her. It was something that a person who knew the ordinary Kanon wouldn't be able to imagine. She lowered her stance, putting that uncharacteristically long right arm at the top of her left leg, almost like she was grasping the hilt of a sword at her hip. The sensation that she's about to go to war isn't too far-fetched, given the situation. After the dance-like woodwind intro, Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries began playing. In the opera cycle, Der Ring des Nibelungen, the Valkyries hold the task of guiding fallen warriors to Valhalla. These young ladies, also sometimes called shield maidens, don their armor, flourish their swords, and ride their winged steeds towards the battlefield. As the horns and bassoons came in, Kanon charged across the ice with the courage of a true Valkyrie. Damn, she's fast, I thought. It's on a completely different level of the speed of the others. It gave the illusion that the rink had become smaller. Just when I thought that she was going from one end to the other, she took a casual curve and turned to skate backwards faster than my mind could follow. A violent sound, threatening to grind the ice into powder, exploded. Like the hooves of a winged horse striking against the earth. Following that, Kanon's limbs spun into the air. She jumped high, floating in the air, almost like she had grown feathers herself. Kanon said there was no way she'd fall. And sure enough, as if the gods had determined it before her jump began, she came down in a perfect landing. The blade, like the axis of a gyroscope, held Kanon steady as she elegantly spread her wing-like arms apart. After finishing her series of continuous jumps, Kanon was bathed in applause. Even though I don't really know what kind of jump it was, I'm pretty sure that it was difficult and worth a lot of points. Even I could tell that it was an extremely artistic jump. Several had attempted this jump before Kanon, but each one had landed with too few rotations, and spun around after the fact in order to appear to succeed. Kanon's jumps are simply longer than the others. Her bullet-like speed enables such acts. But it seemed from watching her on TV that the faster one goes, the harder it is to maintain the jump timing. Although if one just glides slowly into the jump, no one's going to applaud. Balancing the right height and distance together is likely next to impossible. The players who failed at their jumps could attest to that. The second jump was also completed with almost no effort, and Kanon's assault continued. She began a new step sequence of showy choreography. The captivating performance she was giving with her upper body was enough to steal all your attention, but if you managed to tear your eyes away, you would see that her leg work was just as smooth. She did a delicate turn on one skate while maintaining her speed. Those elegant and excruciatingly correct steps bore the grace of a warrior princess performing a sword dance. The third jump. She launched herself while gliding forward. Shards of ice spewed forth like a dragon's blood. I thought that she was just bragging, but after seeing her in action, I was more than reassured. Not a single fleeting thought of her falling entered my mind. After a wonderful landing, Kanon was enveloped in the abnormal passion of the arena. However, it was not the shrill sounds of cheering from before. They were sighs of admiration, gasps of astonishment, sounds of praise, a lot of them, yet praise born out of awe bordering on fear. Absolutely bewitching. On the screen, Kanon's visage was visited by a ghostly aura. The girl in that image would kill any foe who dared to turn his blade against the gods. Hearing Ride of the Valkyries usually reminds people of the movie Apocalypse Now. The lieutenant colonel, with an eerie cheerfulness about him, assaults a Viet Cong village from the skies with the blaring Ride of the Valkyries as his partner. The composer, Richard Wagner, was a rather similar case. There's no doubt he left a big impact on musical history, but his infamy will live on forever. He had a self-centered, indulgent personality, and believed that it's only natural for everyone to invest in a genius such as himself. There was a period of time that he was very intimate with the Nietzsche's, I have no idea, and their ideology would hurl them both into the the modern world through the Nazi Party. He was a genius and a tyrant. Amidst the mystery spectacle of the enchanted arena, the Tyrant of the Ice decorated the finale of this musical masterpiece, ending with a tornadic rotation even. Kanon put on her ending pose. When the music ended, the crowds remembered to breathe. A thunderous applause exploded throughout the stadium. The entire arena burst into a standing ovation. Before I realized what was going on, I was also standing and clapping. In 2 minutes and 40 seconds, she generated enough force to grab everyone's hearts. Her scores clearly were also on a separate level from the others. Obliterating those before her, Kanon achieved the top rank in a single breath. The spectators were boiling over with delight. They'd probably been touched by a beautiful rebirth after the disaster last year. They don't know the real Kanon. She was in the so-called Kiss and Cry, the place where skaters await the results. Her face was on the screen. Kanon beat her personal best, but she did not jump for joy or hug Coach Hilton, who was sitting beside her. She just wore a calm, stoic smile. A reporter pointed a microphone at her. Kanon said only one thing. No more than a whisper. It was almost like she was using all her energy to contain her powerful joy. Almost like she were conceitedly saying, "Of course I won." Well, 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 if it isn't Eiichi-san. I met up with Eiichi and Tsubaki outside. The outside air cooled my skin and felt excellent. What was up with you telling Kanon her steps were bad or whatever? I thought she was pretty awesome. You still think that after seeing the real thing?
やっぱり俺ちゃんがきつく言ってやったからかな。去年までのカノンと別人だわ。ほんと感動したね。ゾクゾクしちゃったよ。
I found the musical selection to be particularly excellent.
私もそう思った。最初は怖い曲だなって思ったし、いつもニコニコしてるカノンちゃんには合わないような気がしてたんだけど。だんだんハマってきたと思ったらいつの間にかこれしかないみたいな気分にさせられたわ。
Eiichi seemed to be overly excited, as he was beginning to talk as his real self even in front of Tsubaki.
やっぱりヒルトンは偉大だな。コーチが違うとこうまで変わるもんかね。
There's really that big of a difference?
違う違う、去年までのカノンはよ、なんつうの、どっちかっつうとキャワイイ系で売ってる系だったのよ。
I had no idea.
元コーチの金崎育子には悪いけど、カノンにはああいう悪魔系が似合うよ。ちょっと怖すぎたけどね。でもああいうカノンちゃんも素敵だよね。
If you look at her physique closely, she's tall with long limbs. She looks like a foreigner.
なんかの記事で読んだけど、ガキの頃からバレエやって体柔らかくして、飯も自分で管理して食ってたらしいぜ。
If things keep on going like this, she can easily win tomorrow's bout too. But suddenly, Eiichi frowned.
ああ、それなんだけどよ。
What?
明日のフリーな。フリーのプログラムはあんまり評判良くねえんだわ。プログラムっつうか、曲か？
Oh, really? Since today was Ride of the Valkyries, would tomorrow be an excerpt from the Aereo Symphony or something like that?
そう思うだろ。でも何考えてんだか知らねえけど、今日のショートとは180度違う曲調なんだよな。
Look, just tell me already.
マニアのお前ならわかると思うけどよ。
After Eiichi eventually told me the title of the piece, even I was confused. Isn't that a bad idea?
だろ、今日のイメージじゃねえよな。でもカノンちゃんはそれでこの前のカナダ大会は優勝してるんだよね。
I agreed with Tsubaki's opinion. Kanon's technique is incredible. Why would the choice of song affect her score in any way?
無理んだよ。スケートはよ、芸術だぜ。得点を決める要素には曲の解釈って項目もあるくらいだ。実際前のカナダじゃその辺がだいぶ弱かったらしいぜ。
Then why doesn't she just change the song?
だよな。なんでまたあんな曲なんだろうな。噂によると元コーチの母親にまだ義理立てしてるって話もあるけどな。浅井くんはそういう話しないの？そうだよ。何か聞いてねえのか？
Not at all.
前ら本当に家族なのかよ。
Hey, she was thoroughly disgusted.
また明日ね。
京介もちゃんと来いよ。
Yeah. Maybe I'm being a bit cold, but Kanon can achieve her goal whether I'm there or not. Today's performance verified that fact. The audience's cheers don't mean all that much to Kanon. Just as Azai Gonzo relies only on himself, Azai Kanon has a firm belief in her skills. There was indeed another death. It was 10 o'clock that night. Mephistopheles had reached the docks in the Western District. The flashlight he had brought shone on the blackened blood. It formed a thin line on the gray old asphalt, and droplets continued on towards the dark waters. A single stab to the lung, and then thrown into the sea. He remembers Mao's cold voice. The winter torrents around this area are quite powerful, so the corpse should have drifted far away by now. There can be no murder investigation if there's no body. His name would merely be recorded on the missing persons list, 90,000 annually and counting. Maou emphasized that part in his murder plan. Just like Maou had promised he would, Mephistopheles found a driver's license at the edge of the boardwalk. He picked up the bloody card to check the name. He was satisfied. The Westerner had been employed as a ballet dancer. Japan has its traditional, proper dances. In order to correct the American cultural invasion after last century's great defeat, people like him must be eradicated from this nation. Maou is a person I can rely on. His battle spirit was already boiling. It just wouldn't do to fall short of Mao's expectations. Suddenly, a voice spoke up behind him. Mephistopheles immediately hid the bloody license inside his jacket.
すいません。
Oh, that's Usami. He slowly turned his head around and beheld the ghost before him. It met the flashlight's glare. Mephistopheles stepped back in surprise.
危ないっすよ。
The sea was behind him. The ghost extended its hand and stepped forward. Stepped? When he looked closely, he realized it was simply a girl with extremely long hair. She seemed to be enrolled as a student somewhere, as she wore a school uniform with a ribbon on the front.
女学生がこんな時間まで何をしている?
How deplorable. Girls are getting worse by the year. Why don't they realize the improper things they're doing, such as wandering in the night, are precisely what's making the crime rate go up? She'd be partially to blame if she was attacked. Jesus, man.
何をしているんだ貴様?
いえ、この辺はちょこちょこ来るんすよ。考え事をしているときは特に。いえ、この先にちょっとした見栄えのする場所がありましてね。
She spoke in mumbles, completely indirect.
昔大好きな人とお別れした場所でしてね。この町は変わってしまいましたけど、この辺りだけは大して変わってないなと懐かしんでいたんです。
名前を言え。
藤原紀香です。
The girl looked at him dimly through her bangs.
藤原。今が何時だかわかるか? おい。
11時くらいですかね。
子供は家で寝てる時間だろ。
一応18歳以上なんすけどね、これでも。
She said in a joking manner.
そんなことより、お怪我はありませんか?
怪我?
ええ、足元に点々と。
She must be talking about the blood.
私は知らん。ジョギングをしていたら、ふと気になって調べてみた。
そうっすか。
She sighed, as if exhausted.
私は帰る。お前も夜更かししないで、ちゃんと帰宅するんだぞ。
お気遣いありがとうございます。
It didn't fit her creepy exterior, but she bowed deeply. Mephistopheles passed the girl by and walked away.
ちょっといいですか?
Being called, he stopped.
ミヒャエル・ユグモントさんとよくお会いします?
Mephistopheles opened his eyes wide. He knew that name well. That man now laid at the bottom of the sea.
誰だ?
ですからユグモントさんです。バレエの先生ですよ。今話題の浅井カノンに指導したこともあるんです。
そんな奴は知らん。
The girl, disappointed, drooped her shoulders. He suddenly felt a wave of uneasiness wash over him.
なぜ私にそんな話をする？
いえ、ジョギングされてたんですよね。っていうことは、この辺にお住まいなのかなと。
So the foreigner lives here too. His sense of suspicion grew even stronger. Why would a girl that he'd never seen before talk to him about a dead man?
自分はあの方のファンでして、もしあったらサインもらっておいてください。
いいだろう。連絡先を教えろ。
マジっすか？やったわあ。
The girl, without a shred of wariness or worry, told him her cell number. Just a coincidence? Mephistopheles said goodbye to the girl with the innocent smile. In any case, he has a way to contact her. He can get rid of her quickly if anything happens. No, you can't! At the bar, as always, Mephistopheles called Maou immediately.
死体を確認した。見事なものだな。
これで私を信用していただけましたか？
もちろんだ。
He gave a firm answer. He was now well aware of the seriousness backing the young man on the other end of the line. It was time to initiate the revolution.
では、明日だな。
手順通り9時にお願いします。
分かっている。二度も殺人を犯したお前の計画だ。
A drink was set before him. He worked hard to suppress the urge to shout out for Maou, to click glasses. After hearing about her, the woman they discussed seemed unforgivable to him. She was supposedly a figure skating coach. In the past, she had been a great player who had even participated in the Olympics, but after retiring, began to live a depraved life. Her name was Kanasaki Ikoko. She published a book criticizing the very skating association that brought her fame, and there were even rumors about her having illicit relations with a member of the Yakuza. At her prime, she had a lean and beautiful figure, but she's put on weight since then. She doesn't care about her income, instead choosing to live a disgusting life by leeching off of her daughter's prize money. She's the worst kind of parent. If even one such mother disappeared from the earth, the future of education would be even brighter.
何か質問は？
Unexpectedly, Maou posed this question. Mephistopheles took a moment to consider. He remembered the face of the girl he had just met.
やはり顔を見られたら殺した方がいいのか。
いい質問ですね。
He sighed, as if impressed
場合
rather.
によります。
というと、
目撃者というのは非常に厄介な存在です。特徴を覚えられた場合、警察が最新鋭の機器を使ってかなり正確なモンタージュを作成します。
下手をすれば私の顔が交番や地下鉄にばらまかれるってことか。
しかし、
He stopped for a second.
目撃者というものは大抵の場合、事件の光景よりも事件で味わった感情を記憶しているものです。犯人の持っていたナイフが恐ろしかったとか、警官の発砲に耳が割れそうになったとか、そういうことは覚えています。
なるほど。周りと同化してしまえということだな。
もちろん、あなたが大層な肥満であったり、鼻の下にブドウのようなほくろがあるのなら話は変わってきますが。
安心しろ。酒は好きだが、ビール腹には縁遠い。
Mephistopheles was an ordinary, tired-looking man, perhaps a bit on the tall side.
とはいえ、目があったら殺した方がいい。
目か。
目は最も感情を伝える部位の一つです。あなたの瞳に異常を感じれば、相手はきっと忘れないことでしょう。
So try to keep your face as hidden as possible.
なら、もう一人殺しておかなくては。
Mephistopheles opened his mouth only after taking a large swig.
実は、さっき港で妙な女に出くわしてな。幽霊かと思ったよ。ただの女学生だったが、膝まで届きそうなくらい髪が長かっ
And of course,
お前が殺した男の話をされたぞ。
the hair down to her knees is pretty much gonna give her away to Mao. Amazingly, Mao didn't say a thing. Unable to stand the silence, Mephistopheles continued.
藤原とか名乗ってた。海に沈んだ男のファンらしい。連絡先は聞いておいた。なんだ。何を考えている？
There was no response. Perhaps he had mentioned something that angered Mao. Or perhaps he had an idea of who the girl was. After a long silence, Mao spoke quietly, almost to himself.
ぜひ殺してください。
Mephistopheles sensed murderous intent from those words, though only for an instant.
その少女こそあるいは最大の敵です。
Dun dun dun! For an athlete, you sure do walk slow. It's been almost an hour since the tournament ended for the day.
コーチとお話ししてちょっと調整してその後インタビューとかしてたら遅くなった。
She had a blank look on her face as she threw her bags on the sofa.
兄さん何してたの？魚臭いよ。
I'm cooking, and yes, it's fish. I must have I must have a truly impoverished nature. I bought 10 sari from the supermarket just because they were on sale.
のんちゃんもう食べたよ。
That's alright, we'll eat it tomorrow then. As for the rest, I'll give it to Tsubaki. She lives close by, after all. I made some coffee while talking to Kanon, who was lazily stretched out on the sofa. Today was amazing.
何が？
You were.
演技が？そう？
She zoned out for a little bit. You took first place effortlessly. There were a full 20 points between you and that Russian in second place.
ああ、そうだっけ？じゃあそれなりだね。
She doesn't seem to have any interest in her opponents. What are your thoughts on today then?
はい。結果に満足せずに精進したいと思います。
That's just a line that you memorized for the camera.
本当にそう思うんだよ。だって NKH 杯は外国の選手も来るけど世界で一番強い人が集まるわけじゃないもの。
What? It was a piece of cake for you because you were only up against small fries?
そんなつもりはないけど結局そういうことかも。
And because she said it so innocently, it didn't even sound offensive.
のんちゃんは世界一になりたいのです。
Right.
トップ、優勝、一番、最強、王様、そういう言葉が好きです。
I understand. And then I pointed to the sofa cover that Kanon had wrinkled up when I wasn't paying attention. I understand, so fix that.
やだ、どうせすぐにぐっちゃにするから。
Then just don't wrinkle it up in the first place. Reflect on it and make sure that you don't do it again.
王は顧みないものです。
You're not a king yet.
兄さんにはかなわないな。
She reluctantly straightened up the cover. Do you want to take a bath? The water's ready.
気が利くね。やっぱり兄さんの家に来て正解だったな。
What do you mean? Surely Ikiko-san heated up the water for you too.
うん。すごい気を使ってくれるよ。
A glimmer of loneliness shone in Kanon's eyes.
コーチはのんちゃんが世界一になることばっかり考えている人だから。いつもヘコヘコしてるよ。
She lowered her head and stared at the empty floor. I remembered the thing that bothered me and asked about it. Well, about your program for the free skate tomorrow.
ん？
It doesn't really seem like it's your style. So why? For an instant, Kanon pursed her lips in hesitation.
知らない。コーチがヒルトン先生にお願いしたみたい。でも知らない。
I didn't ask Kanon, who still called Ikiko-san coach, anything else.
じゃ、一緒に寝よ
I'm not sleeping.
う。のんちゃんね、何かを抱っこしてないと眠れないの。
Don't act so bratty. You know we shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
大丈夫だよ。誰も見てないよ。
For Christ's sake, What am I supposed to do with this girl? The shadow floating behind her smile is bugging me a bit. Oh well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to stay by her side until she falls asleep. I guess we're gonna be indulgent to her, right? Sure. Fine, I get it. But I'm nocturnal, so I'll be reading on the bed.
ありがとう。5秒で寝つくから。
Hurry up and take your bath.
はい。
She saluted and went to the changing room with light steps. Jeez. I sat on the chair in the study and stretched lazily. Kanon should be able to win easily tomorrow. So there will be another victim. Thinking about that made me depressed. Even so, I don't really have any methods at my disposal to do anything about it. I don't. What the hell? I'm getting dizzy again. It's probably because of Akimoto's big mouth. Damn it. Even so. This is outside of my calculations. To think that Usami had already come into contact with Mephistopheles. Why did Usami appear at that dock tonight? Usami's in contact with Azai Gonzo, so she should have a list of possible victims. People who are affiliated with Kanon, be it through school, skating, blood relation. Even if the list was filtered through, there should have been more than 10 people. And from that, to correctly pinpoint that German ballet dancer as the target. Michael Jungmann does indeed live near the Western District's port. Maybe Usami and the rest were watching his house and discovered Mephistopheles acting suspiciously on the boardwalk. Why? Is it a coincidence? Extremely good luck? If it wasn't, then I have to admit that I underestimated Usami. I let loose a sardonic laugh. I don't get it. Along with the sound of the shower starting, a person's voice came from the bathroom. "There's no towel," it said. What a cheeky woman. I'll prepare one right away. I look forward to tomorrow. I'll have Usami show me her skills, so I can see just how good she really is. Dun dun dun! Alright, I think we could probably get in one more scene. We're at 40 minutes. Yet, you're always full of energy. The next morning, I walked Kanon to the building entrance. After a while, a high-class foreign car drove up and approached the curb.
Ohayo, Kyosuke-kun.
Ikiko-san slowly emerged from the left-hand driver's seat. Good morning. Nice car.
そう？もう2世代も前の車よ。
Oh no. Even so, I'm sure she could afford to buy 3 family cars.
それじゃ兄さん、行ってくるね。
Kanon ducked into the back seat with enthusiasm. Nobody sat in the passenger seat.
ごめんなさいね。私からも連絡しておこうと思ったんだけど、つい忙しくて。
It's okay. She was talking about Kanon.
何か言ってなかった？
No, nothing in particular.
私の悪口とか？
The strange smile she developed over her years surfaced. I couldn't distinguish between her sincerity and sarcasm. No, she just said she was going to do her best and set her sights on the World Championships.
ならいいけど。
She put her hand against her sagging cheek suggestively. Speaking of the World Championships, she was an Olympic athlete in the past.
カノンは甘えん坊だから大変でしょ。でもそれが可愛いのよね。
I felt only unrest. Oblivious to the reason behind it, I knew only that I wouldn't be able to continue a conversation with this person.
ねえ、行かないの？
Kanon popped her head out the window. She bore a very unamused look on her face. No, maybe it's just my imagination. She just rarely looks so expressionless.
何かあったら連絡してね。
Ikiko-san nodded slightly before getting into the car. After a quiet ignition, the car drove off, followed by a black limo. In the limo behind Ikiko-san's car sat 2 huge muscle men. probably Gonzo's men, here to protect Ikiko-san. However, what will happen when they get to the arena? What will happen when they enter the areas only official tournament personnel are allowed to enter? Even Yakuza would be thrown out of there. This opportunity may be the one Maou is intending to exploit. I got a phone call. It's Gonzo. This is Kyosuke.
宇佐美はどうだ
I don't know. I haven't seen her since last time.
連れてこい
The line cut right after he finished. What's this new development? I rolled my eyes and clicked my tongue as I dialed Usami's number.
宇佐美でございます。
She picked up the phone after only one ring. Good to hear you're as disgusting as ever. What are you up to right now?
今はフランス風の喫茶でカッファを頼んでいます。
Quit bluffing.
本当です。新聞も読んでます。カノンのことがデカデカと載ってますね。
Usami wasn't in the arena yesterday.
表情の戦女神とかなってますよ。
You should go see it in person at least once. It's incredibly intoxicating.
あ、ちょっとすいません。
Suddenly, I heard some sort of wrestling noise. What? What are you doing? However, there was no response. If I listened carefully, I could hear the weak sound of country music in the background. She really was in a shop somewhere. Hello?
何ですか？
I decided to cut to the chase. Gonzo wants you. Come quickly.
マジですか？
She seemed to sink into deep consideration.
わかりました。今セントラル街にいましてね。
I'll come to meet you then. I'll call you back when I'm almost there. After Usami agreed, I started walking. The day was especially warm. I met Usami shortly after calling her out. What are you doing out here anyway?
もちろん尾行です。
Tailing? Who?
それはまだなんとも。怪しい人ではあるんですが、白だったらご本人に迷惑がかかりますので。
Suspicious how?
昨日ばったり出くわしましてね。まだ事件に関係があるかどうか確信が持てないんですが。どうでしょう。
She glanced behind her. Save the details until we meet with Gonzo.
もしかして何の進展もなかったら撃ち殺されるんですかね。
It's possible. Usami's face suddenly tensed. Her eyes widened as she stared at something behind me. What's wrong? I turned my head around, and a tall woman stood behind me. Her lustrous coat was strangely vivid under the winter sun. A faint smile was plastered on her face as she looked at us. The woman slowly approached Usami and me. Her soft, straight black hair shone brilliantly under the sunlight. What the? I asked Usami behind me. Hey, Usami. She was entirely speechless. Could this be the suspicious person Usami spoke of? Finally, the woman spoke.
久しぶりね。ある？
I turned back to Usami without thinking. Why, hello.
You... 雪だ
Usami broke into a dash. She moved incredibly fast. I was shocked by the scene, and she vanished into the crowd before I even noticed. Hey! Yuki? My eyes met with the woman named Yuki before I had grasped the situation. As we confronted each other, I noticed that we were around the same height. She had long eyebrows and determined eyes. She had long arms and legs like Kanon. She wasn't at all like an ordinary Japanese person. The black suitcase in her hands conjured images of an able businesswoman in my mind.
こんにちは。私は時田由紀。あなたは？
This woman, capable of unnerving even the stoic Usami, asked me in a peaceful tone. Kyosuke, as I Kyosuke, you would be?
FBI よ。
What? While I wondered, aghast, if she was really telling me the truth, her next question rushed in.
あなたは春の恋人？
Don't freak me out like that. I'm just an acquaintance of hers. Tokita smiled and opened the suitcase.
これ、私の連絡先。
She handed me a business card.
春に伝えておいて。
An evil glow sparkled in her eyes.
それじゃあまた会いましょう。
She left after saying her piece. And then there was me, still puzzled, and not a step away from where I was when she came in. I said, an acquaintance of Usami's?
浅井さん、浅井さん。
Oh, you're back. She was gasping for air.
ユキは何か言っていましたか？
Not really. Only that she had her eyes set on you. Who is that woman? She's incredibly beautiful. Usami shook her head with no sign of stopping.
いや、私のお友達です。
You mean you really had friends before? If she's a friend of Usami's, then the chances are she's a weirdo. Speaking of which, what does it mean when you say that you have your eyes set on a friend?
ユキが狙っているのは私の B 地区です。
Sweater puppies? Oh, your boobs. I'd never noticed before, but Usami's boobs were bigger than than those of some pin-off models. Anyway, here's her contact information.
電話をしろと。
Are you that against it?
私の B 地区がこうなったのはユキのせいです。
I think the theory that breasts grow when you rub them is merely an urban legend. Well then, I guess I can just pretend that I lost it. I didn't feel like dealing with this anymore.
いえいえ、ユキに嘘は通じません。
Huh?
これは大変なことになったぞ。
I think this is the first time that I've seen Usami panicked into a sweat. Alrighty. And, meeting with Gonzo again, I think that is where we are going to end today's episode. So, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.